Hey everybody, it's my 55-gallon T Bar tank, although at the moment all we can really see is the Angelfish. I am obviously in the middle of a water change, so I thought I would just stop and take a few minutes to chat. We're waiting for the tank to fill back up. If you'll notice, the water looks kind of gray and cloudy. That is because I added some of those mineral stones that I had in my 125 native tank. I put them in there for the crayfish that are in there. Incidentally, I was down the stream today and I saw a crayfish, so at least one of them is out and moving, and I saw lots of minnows, so there is activity going on down in the stream, so look forward to that pretty soon. We'll have some more outdoors videos coming up. I'll go down there and catch some crayfish and we'll tinker around with all that kind of stuff. But back to the tank at hand. I'm going to shoot the video soon talking about the what I've done, the little bit of reading I've done into the electrical conductivity and minerals in the water and all that sort of stuff. But for purposes of this video, suffice it to say that I think just by adding some of those mineral stones into this tank, I think I'm going to serve my purposes fine. Because remember, the only thing I really wanted to accomplish in this tank was the fact that I've got two Mystery Snails in here, and I wanted to make sure their shells did okay. So I'm not trying to mess with the water chemistry. I wasn't having any problems. All my fish are doing fine. The plants are doing fine. I'm not trying to do anything in there that's going to mess with the tank just for the sake of a couple of snails, you know? So I'm pretty sure that putting a couple of small handfuls of the mineral stones that I put in there, I sort of tucked them in kind of under the rocks and down near the roots of this big bunch of Anubias here. I sprinkled a little more kind of down under the rocks in the middle where all of the roots from this Java are, and then I spread a little bit more, once again, sort of behind this mass of both Java and Anubias, and got a handful under there. And there's probably going to be the odd rock or two. Now that I'm looking, you can see a few of them have fallen right there when I was trying to get them in there. But the way my T-bar picks up gravel and spits it everywhere, it's not going to be an issue. If you look on the power head back there, look at all that gravel that's sitting on top of the power head. So the T-bar moves a lot of gravel around. I have no doubt that it's going to pick some up from the back and move it around, and we'll probably see some of that more gray looking gravel. But in the long run, that gray gravel getting mixed in with this black gravel is not going to be that big of a deal. It's not really going to be that noticeable. There's already a little bit down here that I know I spilled, and I sort of backfilled that myself to kind of cover it up. And right now the tank is going to be all dusty, and when we're done with the water change, all that sediment's going to get on everything. So it'll be a few days before the tank starts looking good again. But I'm not going to really bother myself with worrying about those odd little gray stones we see here and there in this tank. For the most part, they're going to be out of sight, out of mind, and they will add just enough remineralization to the tank that it'll probably make the fish healthier, and it'll probably make my tank healthier overall, but it'll certainly be enough for the snails in here to do well without really radically adjusting my water chemistry. I don't expect it to affect my pH or water hardness or anything. In fact, if my water hardness came up a little, that would be okay. I've got zero hardness and I've got zero carbonate hardness. I have almost no buffering capacity in my tanks at all. So, you know, adding a degree or two of hardness wouldn't come amiss, but I don't think that's going to happen. What I've seen so far from the other tanks that I've messed around with putting some different stuff in, it hasn't really changed my water hardness or my pH really. My 125 is the tank that I'm currently messing around with some stuff. It's the same mineral stones, but instead of sprinkling them directly in the tank, I put it in the filter loose. I didn't put it in a mesh bag or anything. I did just get some mesh bags, and I did just get some I'll just say it's a calcium product, and I'll leave it at that. We will talk about that coming up. It's not designed for aquarium, but it is going to go in some of my filters, and that's something that we'll talk about in an upcoming video. So let me get going. I want to go ahead and make sure everything's nice and square. In fact, while we're standing right here, make sure the water's still the right temperature. I just got a new water control flow valve for my Aqueon. It broke the other day. I got years and years and years of use out of it, but the valve was getting stiffer and stiffer, and it finally just spun in my hand the other day, and just the valve itself stayed still, and the handle part spun. And so for $6 or $7, I was able to replace just the valve, and I didn't have to get a whole entire new hose or everything. So I'll put a link to that below. If you've got one of these little valves that breaks, it's a nice easy fix for just a few dollars, and you're back up and running, and your water changes are nice and easy again. So I'm going to go make sure everything's tidy with that. I will add finally that I wiped the glass down and got all that algae off the front of the glass. Again, if you follow along, you'll know what I'm talking about. It came off really easily, so it was not any kind of algae that I was afraid that it was going to be. It just wiped right off, so that shouldn't be an issue. But I am planning on doing the video talking about that and talking about the lighting in this tank and the algae and how all that associates together too. So make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss any of that kind of stuff. I got tons of stuff on my mind. It'll get made into videos sooner or later. It's hit or miss with me. You never know what you're going to get, but if you're subscribed, you won't miss any of it, and I like to think it's all good. So don't forget, this one here is my T Bar tank. See you real soon in the next one.